So, welcome to e-commerce SEO strategies in the age of AI. The purpose of this webinar is to help e-commerce brands navigate SEO in an AI-driven landscape. In this presentation, I will be covering the AI-powered e-commerce landscape, key challenges brands are facing, SEO strategies that work today. I'll be showing you some case studies and examples and some action steps that you can do to start right now. So a quick introduction. My name is Glynis, and I'm the founder of Chase Your Dreams Consulting. We specialize in SEO services for fashion, beauty, and lifestyle e-commerce companies. I have over 20 years of fashion apparel industry experience, and I help fashion e-commerce brands create optimized content and attract potential customers through organic search. So before we get started, I just want to do a quick little poll and see, so maybe just show of hands, how many attendees are actively creating content right now? And that could be blogs, videos, shorts, reels, GC. You could just say me in the chat. Who's creating content out there right now? Awesome. And do you know if that content is showing up in AI search? That's the big question. Not sure. Yeah. And so you'll be a little bit more informed after this webinar and in terms of how to get that content to show up in AI search, as well as how to check to see if that content is visible in AI. Let's talk about the new e-commerce and AI landscape. If your traffic is down, even though your rankings look stable, it might not be you. It might be AI changing the rules. And there have been a lot of changes just over the last several months, but weeks even, and things are changing so quickly. So it's good that you guys are here and so that you can be prepared, know what the changes are and know how to adapt to these changes. So the shift from traditional SEO used to be ranking for those 10 blue links, which you see example on the left-hand side, to now AI SEO is optimizing for visibility in summaries and cited sources, such as Google AI overviews, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Bing, Copilot, and so on. So the way consumers are searching is changing, just resulting in fewer clicks and they're getting more direct answers without having to click on the links. So you see here, Google, below sponsored would be like your organic search results. And those blue links used to be like where people would go and they land on these results and then they would click through it, take a look at the website, see if they, can find what they're looking for. If not, then they just move down the list sort of thing. But now you see with AI overviews here on the right-hand side, so same query, right? How to optimize for SEO, same query, but different result. Here you get a little snippet of AI overview. Here's your answer right here in the search. And you don't even have to click anywhere. You get your result. But if you want to learn more, go a little deeper, then fortunately, AI overviews cites the website and adds link here. So which is what you see on the right-hand side. So which people can go and click through to the website if they want to learn more. And I'm sure you all heard of the latest development. On September 29th, ChatGPT introduced instant checkout and agentic commerce protocol. Instant checkout is a new feature in ChatGPT that lets users buy certain products within the chat interface without even going to the website. So they are rolling this out to the US users first. And so far, it will be supporting single item purchases from US-based sellers. But over time, the plan is to expand to multi-item shopping carts, more merchants like Shopify and other merchants, as well as beyond regions that are beyond the US. So the question is your shop ready for this change? So how consumer search behavior is changing, right? This is absolutely changing the game for consumers. So what does it mean for DTC and e-commerce brands? Well, you have to look at your visibility, trust, and customer acquisition challenges. And so right now, consumers, they're looking for trustworthy brands and they rely on the AI filters to give them their answers. So really, it's important that your brand is seen as an authority, as a trustworthy expert in your space, in your niche, so that it's important to build trust with both your customer as well as for AI search engines. Up until now, most brands are treating their websites as the primary sales channel. Right? That's the place where shoppers are discovering and browsing and buying. Now, with instant checkout, AI searching conversational commerce is rising. The discovery and transaction layers are starting to move outside the website into ChatGPT. So that means for your website, this means that you need to increase its function, such as having a trusted data source for AI agents to pull from, being a branded hub for storytelling and owned content, and being a backend system for inventory fulfillment, payments, and customer data, which is often through a Shopify site, or it could be through a headless CMS. So you still would need a website, okay? There's some rumors out there. People think that with this new agentic checkout, agentic shopping, that you don't need a website anymore. You do, because they still need to transact, make the purchases from the website. So with all this happening right now, it's like everything everywhere all at once, right? What are the key challenges that e-commerce brands are facing today? So I did an interview recently with Janelle Alvarado, who's the founder of Retail Boss, and she said that retail strategy today is about being where your customers are, online, in content, and in community. So, and in this conversation, we both agree that SEO is not dead. It is evolving. So it's moving away from traditional SEO, is used to focus on ranking and search results, driving clicks to your site, and then converting that traffic into sales. But with AI search results and instant checkout, websites are starting to see a reduce in number of clicks, even when the rankings remain steady. So SEO is shifting toward AI readiness and making sure that your content is structured, detailed, and trustworthy in order to be cited in places like AI overviews, and to make sure that your site and the information is being summarized and accurately by ChatGPT and Perplexity. And so what does that mean? This means that, you got to make sure that your product data contains the right information, making sure pricing is accurate and consistent, making sure the availability, product availability, and attributes all correct. This is through a technical SEO. That's structured data, structured markup, and schema markup is really important. Making sure that your website is also clean and has a clean site architecture with canonical tags, and making sure that the content is high quality and the answers to people's questions and queries um, are making sure that your answers are descriptive and that fully answering the questions that people are asking in search, right? Because now people are not just typing in keywords like the old days. They are now having full conversations right inside search. All in all, is right now relevance is greater than presence, because rising competition, paid ad saturation, paid ads are starting to cost more. We're seeing a lower in our ROI. Organic traffic is declining despite steady rankings, and people are having content overwhelm right now because everyone is publishing, but not everyone is credible. We're going to talk a little bit more about technical SEO, what you can do to prepare and make sure your site is structured, and the technical side, back end is good. Yeah, just having the mindset that it's important to adapt, because the brands that adjust fastest win. Well, SEO is no longer just about getting found; it's really about being understood, trusted, and transactable by the AI systems. So now you know how the e-commerce landscape is changing. Let's talk about some SEO strategies that work in the age of AI. So if anyone knows me, I'm always talking about how content is really important. because content really equals authority. And a big part of the strategy that I use a lot for myself as well as for my clients is blogging, because blogging is a great way to be able to establish trust, credibility, and thought leadership. And I have a little bit of a model that I use in terms of how to build up your blogging content, because it's not just about blogging for the sake of blogging. You want to be strategic about it, because to create a piece of content, it requires a lot of time. A lot of us are probably, as founders and entrepreneurs, brand owners, we're busy. We're juggling a lot of things. So you want to, if you're going to be putting in the time to write an article, you want this piece of content to work for you, correct? So I'm going to talk about like the strategy that we use and show you a case study as well on how to build content clusters to be able to build your topical authority. And also you want to create content that answers the questions so that AI is pulling those into the summaries. I have an podcast episode where I talk about the importance of blogging. That is in episode 43. And I talk about, how brands that blog consistently become trusted voices and have shown increase in conversions. So it's important to answer your customers' pain points, and in the form of like, there's various ways that you can create your content and blogs. There's some examples here of topic cluster that we built up for one of our clients here, who is a contemporary women's fashion brand. And we built up a cluster around travel. So they had, written a travel essentials guide, what to pack for a 10-day vacation, what to pack for a beach vacation. These are all articles that fall within this travel cluster. And then we built up a contemporary women's fashion cluster here, in which they have a pillar article that is focused around contemporary women's fashion. And then they built sub-articles or wrote sub-articles like how to style pieces, statement pieces, and what to wear this week, and, how to put together a fashion-forward capsule wardrobe. So as you can see, this cluster all works together. And then as well, there's a travel cluster as well. And within those clusters, they all have internal links that link to each other. Okay. And that just strengthens the whole way that the content and the pages will rank in search. Just to get a little technical with you, but this is important, and this is what happens on the back end of your website. It's important to make sure that your technical SEO foundations are in place. And that includes optimizing your images, checking your site speed, because nowadays people's attention spans are shorter than goldfish now. It's like you've got 2 seconds to pretty much, convince a person to whether or not they want to stay on your site or leave, right? So you got to make sure you have a fast loading website, and making sure that, of course, it's both viewable on mobile as well as on desktop. Another thing is to have schema markup for your product pages. And this helps AI understand and surface your products and more easily. So it's a universal language for LLMs to be able to read your website content and understand what it is. And this way, it helps your pages or your website to be cited on search and on AI. So in those product pages, you could also include FAQs and have detailed product descriptions. And yeah, so I talked about site speed, mobile first design. And if you're working with a developer, just make sure that they are focusing on a clean architecture, right? Making sure the site is very clean, easy to navigate. You don't have orphan pages that are just floating around that are not linked anywhere to other pages. Making sure the site is indexable and crawlable to search engines is really important, and having that structured data. And, your website is important. It's still important to have a website, because, your website is also not just it's not just made for search engines, but it's made for humans, right? And so the human facing content is there to build the emotional connection and long term brand equity. Okay. And then with the technical side combined, then the machine facing content ensures that AI agents are able to surface and sell your products accurately. So that's kind of why you need to have both and make sure you combine these together, because you're not just optimizing for AI search engines, you are also optimizing for your audience, buyers, customers who land on your site, right? Because you do need to build up that trust, credibility, and the relationship too, right? Is really important. Do we have any questions so far? If you have any questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat. I will also be taking questions at the end. Okay, so I just want to talk about EAT, and that stands for expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. And this was important. It still is important actually for search and traditional search. I mean, last year, Google did a major algorithm update, one of the core updates, and that was to making sure that the content is written by human for humans, because they discover that once, people discover ChatGPT, and people were just pushing out content like crazy, right? But I mean, we know that content that's created in AI is mostly regurgitated content that is found already exists on the internet. So once this came in place, we saw a lot of these big websites that used to be, just generating a lot of content and blogs that was not, the most original, unique, creative. They got penalized, and they saw a hit to their traffic. You may have seen, sites that previously had a lot of traffic just took a hit because of this change, and Google saying, no, your content is not, really unique. It's not original. It's really spammy. So we're just going to rank your site lower. But whereas smaller websites who had been consistently writing helpful original content, they were seeing more of an increase in traffic because of this. So at the end of last year, if you had been following me and I was telling people, that it's important to create helpful original content, and that it's important that the information is coming from you because you are the expert in what it is that you do, right? No one else has this information or this knowledge or experience like you do. So if you are able to create this content, then you have a better likelihood of search engines showing it and bringing it up in search results. Okay. But this now also applies with AI, right? So they're looking at authoritativeness, right? And citing these sites a lot higher or more frequently than other sites. But the algorithm's improving. They were favoring a lot of the, things from Reddit and different things like that. But over time, they're changing the algorithm to make things, the results a lot more relevant to what the customer, the user is looking for. Yeah, so just to emphasize that E is not just an acronym. AI models are trained to cite these authoritative sources. And in order for you to, like I said, write original content that comes from you. And another thing that you want to make sure is to have some author bylines that talk about, who you are. This is byline is a credit line that attributes a piece of writing to its author. And you want to also include things like case studies or founder stories, customer reviews. All of these things really do help to build that trust. Okay. Hi, Helen. Okay, so I'm just reading your question. What kind of blogs do you recommend to write about for a Canada boutique that can provide the maximum amount of value to audiences? Yeah, that's a good question. So I always start off by asking, what makes you or your brand unique? What makes you different from everybody else as a starting point? I know your brand, and you make really beautiful handmade candles from soy, and they're like pieces of art, right? They're decorative. They're not just a scented candle that you burn and forget about, right? I remember you telling me that your candles can be decorative. They're like just so beautiful. They're the pieces of art that people don't even want to burn them. So, you could write up a guide even on how to incorporate candles within in your home decor. So yeah, I would really start off by, um, brainstorming and thinking about what are the things that make your brand different and unique than anybody else, and how is that relevant to your audience or potential customer. And also, what are the common questions that people are asking, the questions that you get from your buyers? And those are often a good starting point, because if people are asking that, and probably more people are asking the same question, right? So those could be ideas that you could use to write your blog content on. Okay. Does that help? Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So another quote from Janelle is, if you're not adapting to how consumers shop today, you're already behind. Agility is the new competitive advantage. And I know it's like, all this tech is changing so fast. You're like, oh my God, like, I'm not a techie person. I don't even know what to do. Like, where do I even begin? It's so overwhelming. And you're probably being bombarded by all these other messages on what you should be doing. And I totally get it, because I can relate to this. I feel like I'm in the same boat. But what I want to present to you is just very simple, very strategic ideas and concepts and strategies that you can implement when you get off this webinar today, because really it's not that hard. Like, just really, I want to keep things very simple, and to let you know that even though things are changing fast, a lot of the SEO best practices still apply. Okay. So making sure that your foundation is there, and then layer on the AI stuff. Okay. So having that adaptability mindset is important right now, right? It's not like, well, when I change, it's, well, you have to change now, even if it means taking small steps right now, or at least just having the level of awareness and knowing what's happening right now and being prepared for it, I think is important. That can mean, testing new tool, right? Like AI assistants, chatbots, personal search, if that works for your business. Tracking performance, right? Making sure you're measuring the right data, how your impressions are performing versus your clicks, right? How much brand visibility do you have? You're not just looking at clicks, but you're kind of looking at the overall picture, and what are people talking about you even, right? And so there's lots of data that you can look at just to make sure that, it's not just only one thing, your traffic, not giving you a very pretty picture right now, but maybe there's other signals that are happening out there, other conversations people are having on your brand, right? So you need to understand that as well and monitor those impressions and know what your AI visibility is, okay? Beyond just clicks. And make sure that you are staying nimble, because whether we like it or not, AI search will keep evolving. Okay, so I want to share a real world example from client work that we did, that we used the blogging strategy that I had just mentioned previously to help land their blog content into an AI overview placement. This AI overview citation that showed up also, increased their visibility, and we saw a revenue lift from organic traffic. And there's so many benefits to having your brand or your pages, website showing up in AI search, because it also helps to build that authority and credibility within the AI search, within AI driven search. Even doing a few searches within the search engines themselves and seeing what comes up, and if your content is even showing or coming up, right? You don't even need any fancy tools to do that. So, you could just do a search for a particular like question or topic or something, whatever your article is covering or talking about, you can just look that up and see what comes up. So for example, what we did for one of our clients, Nomi Designs, which is a fashion brand based in Victoria, BC. I'll show you this case study will show you how they were able to grow their visibility and traffic using content clusters that I mentioned and blogging. So the results were that they had a higher AI visibility, increased sales from organic, and also the organic traffic is their highest traffic channel as well. So this really shows you the power of blogging. So here's an example of what we did. So in terms of building up the content clusters and having them write their blogs, this shows you a few examples of blog articles on their website. But if you note, there's these two articles here, how to pack linen clothes for travel. This is, by the way, a linen clothing company. So this article that they wrote on how to pack linen clothes for travel and can you wear linen clothing in winter? Well, these all came about as me asking questions to the founder and owner of the company. I'm like, what questions do you get asked a lot? What are some FAQs that you get? And she's like, oh, people will firstly have this misconception that they think that you can't wear linen in the winter. And we're in Canada, right? So our winters can get cold. And she's like, well, I really want to break that myth. I want to give them some truth and some information that you really can. Linen can be insulating, and as you can layer it and wear it with other fabrics like wool, you can layer them and they can be very warm. So she wrote this whole article just around this topic of being able to wear linen clothing in the winter. Well, this article is one of her top performing blogs and shows up in AI overviews. Same with this how to pack linen clothes for travel, because as we all know, what is the one characteristic of linen fabrics? They tend to wrinkle, right? So nobody wants to travel or take linen clothing with them for traveling. So again, she wanted to break that myth and write this whole article on how to pack linen clothes for travel. Again, this is another one of her top performing blogs. So I'll show you just what that looks like here in terms of the type of results that she got for can you wear linen in the winter. Say we did a Google search here for the benefits of wearing linen in winter. This comes up in AI overviews. Okay. And it also the first result links to the Nomi Designs blog. Can you wear linen clothing in the winter? Okay? And she's also the number 1 organic result too. So there you got, 3, like there's a link here, there's a link there, and there's also the organic SEO link. So it's like 3 places, right, where this page shows up. So this really shows you the power of blogging. So lesson here is consistency plus helpful content equals staying relevant. And we said relevant is very important. This also, I'll show you these results. Here's a screenshot of Google Search Console that shows you, top pages, one being her homepage. Second is this blog, Linen Clothing for Canadian Winters. It's her second highest performing blog. In the last 3 months, you can see the number of clicks and impressions that this blog has received, and you can see that it just goes on an uptrend, right? So this blog is definitely driving traffic to their website, to the Nomi website. And I can tell in their Google Analytics, the traffic, their direct and organic traffic channels are their highest revenue generating traffic channels, even better than social media. Okay. And she's not even running paid ads, and she does a little bit of email marketing. But right now, organic is totally driving her traffic and bringing in the revenue. I'd say about 50% of her revenue right now is coming from organic search. So that's it all in all shows you just the power of blogging and how it can help your site, establish itself or sense of authority and trustworthy brand, but also helping show up in the search engines, results pages, and being cited in AI overviews. And this is also a way for new customers to discover their brand, because just through this popular search, can you wear linen in winter, is it's a popular question. So this helps with discoverability, brand awareness. If somebody's just typing that in Google search and your article comes up, this is another way for them to discover you, right? Um, and also when you are creating this content, like I said, if you're a founder, owner, designer, sales marketer, everything, you want to make sure that your content is working for you. So not only are you writing this piece of content and it's working for her right now, bringing her in sales, but also, you could take this content, you could repurpose it into an e-letter, into your social media posts. I use the same strategy for myself. I also take it and I also create podcast episodes, YouTube videos, Instagram reels, YouTube shorts. Like, it's endless what you can do with this one piece of content, right? And then that way, make sure that everything that you create is all aligned. And then, this is just, if you think about it, just your distribution, right? You want to create the content once and then distribute it everywhere across all the channels. Okay. So have I convinced you yet on the importance of blogging? Yes. Awesome. Yes. See, I really believe in it, and I do this myself and I do this for my clients, and it really works. And you can see the results here. Okay. And so just another quote from Janelle, the founder of Retail Bosch, and said, brands that survive the retail shifts were those that adapted fastest to digital and content first strategies. So now, you know a little bit more of what's happening in the AI landscape, how e-commerce and retail is changing, what are some of the challenges people are facing, and, a case study of a simple strategy that you can use to get your brand to show up and increase its visibility. Somebody has a question. I do all these things and Google isn't showing my site in search results. Only my social media and other mentions. DuckDuckGo has no issues. I'm gonna cry every day about it. Well, you know what? If it's showing up on Bing, then that's not a bad thing, because ChatGPT is pulling their data from Bing. Nowadays, you're not just optimizing for Google, you're optimizing for Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo as well. So I wouldn't, discount these other search engines as well. Just because ChatGPT is saying that they are citing from Bing. So don't be discouraged and don't give up. Another thing is, I would check your indexing. Go to your Google Search Console, check your indexing, and see if those pages, like your blogs, are being indexed on Google. Because it just could be a matter of that, they should be indexing it, but sometimes it could use a little push, because the internet is such a vast place and there's so many websites. So you can do a manual index and submit it to Google. So make sure, you have a Google Search Console set up. Make sure you submit your site map to it to trigger its, crawling indexing, and also index those individual pages as well. So check that. Hope that helps. So I want to give you a few practical steps that you can do today to get started. So, like I said, right, it doesn't need to be this big, overwhelming, daunting job. You can just start small. So you can identify the top 3 customer questions and turn those into blogs. Okay. Like I said to Helen as well, make a list of top questions that you get asked all the time from customers. And those could be potential blog articles, topics. Okay. Audit your product pages for technical SEO basics. Add schema markup and optimize your metadata. Okay. Basic SEO best practices here. Title tag, meta descriptions, image, alt text, each one, two tags are still important. And so building trust is important. So showcase your founder story, values, and reviews. I don't think a lot of brands do that. Like, it's unfortunate because I work with brands and their website and I look at and I'm like, oh, their products are so beautiful. But their about pages, like, really, it doesn't do them justice, right? And they don't really tell the full story. And so I would really try to build that up and tell your story, your brand, your founder story, why you started it, why does it exist? I also had written a blog specifically about this on AI search optimization. And that's what that QR code is here on the screen. If you want to learn more, you can just scan that QR code and you can read the blog. The blog, it actually covers it more in detail and goes through it. But you want to make sure that, another thing is that checking your Google shopping listings, because it's been found that they're pulling, like, Google shopping is another way that you can be found, right? You don't have to pay for ads, Google ads. There's also Google organic listings. So it's just a matter of optimizing your product pages, making sure your titles and pricing, images and policies all meet Google's standards. So, you could start by updating your top product pages, having more specific product descriptions, photos, and including like keywords within the titles and the descriptions. And like I said, writing helpful blog posts that answers common questions that you get from your customers, because AI tools are often pulling from blogs. So when you're giving the answers to those common questions, then, your content is more going to be readily cited. Just make sure that your content is original and helpful. Just, commit to consistency. So even starting with one blog a month, it's better than none. Okay. Oh, thank you, Jessica. I'm glad you found it helpful. I'm almost done. I know we're reaching at the end of this session. So I just want to say, in summary, websites are not going away, but the role of the website is transforming. So SEO is not dying, it's evolving from ranking for clicks to structuring your site for AI agents. And the brands that are able to adapt early will become the preferred sources for AI systems, thus winning visibility and sales in this new ecosystem. So now I'll open up the floor for any questions that you have, or feel free to share, any current SEO challenges that you're facing with your e-commerce business. Does anyone have any questions? If you have questions, you could put them in the chat or unmute yourself.
Actually, Glynis, hi, thank you so much. I have a question. So I actually run my own online nutrition business consulting, and I used GoDaddy to create my website, and then I also do a blog on there as well. But I'm just wondering, like, is it better to use a different platform just for SEO and ranking? Because currently with GoDaddy, I just have a website builder and I have like limited access to SEO.
Yeah, does it have a place for you to edit your title tags and meta descriptions?
It does, yeah, it has that feature.
Have you checked your rankings in Google Search Console at
Yeah,
all?
yeah, I have been, yeah, so I have been looking into that, but it's not performing very well. So that's why I'm just asking the question. I think you kind of answered it in one of the questions. Is I do a lot of recipes, so I don't have recipe schemas on there, so I wonder if that would help.
Yeah, I'm not sure how robust GoDaddy is. Honestly, come across a few of those. I haven't worked on GoDaddy sites. I'd say like 90% client sites on Shopify, a few on Squarespace and Wix. So I'm actually curious to know how GoDaddy
Yeah.
like it, performs on SEO. But I feel like if they are, you have the ability to do those optimization and that you are doing them and tracking them as well, because you want to be able to measure, right? And see, well, is it even making any difference before and after you've gone through and optimized? Like go through those recipe pages. Just see if you can add schema and
Yeah.
maybe just ask their support, right? And see recipes are the important part of your website. You want to make sure that those are showing up, right, on the search engines. Technical, back-end stuff is important, and also making sure that there's nothing potentially blocking your site too from
Mhm.
being crawled and indexed. Yeah, there's some, checks in place that need to be done to make sure there's nothing potentially preventing your site from being indexed in the first place, and then knowing how your site is performing currently, and then start to make few improvements on it. Maybe, picking a few articles or recipes that you think are more popular amongst your audience and going in and optimizing. Because I always say optimize for one focus keyword, and then that way you're able to track it and see, are you even ranking for that keyword, and you know how high are you ranking currently, and then it may require some on page tweaks as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, that's great. And in your opinion, I was thinking of switching over possibly to Squarespace or Wix, just so that I have more functionality. But which one do you kind of recommend or prefer?
Between the two,
Yeah.
well, in my experience, working I working with Squarespace over Wix. I think Wix has a lot of these customization functions. Either can, if you know how to use them, they're good, but if not, it can be very confusing. And even for me, sometimes I find a real hard to work with a Wix website. Squarespace, I find a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah, they're like pretty much drag and drop, right? So it's yeah, I've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah. No. Okay,
yeah.
thank
It's
you. Yeah.
I feel like it's a cleaner interface
Yeah, no, for
to
sure.
work
Okay.
with.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah, no worries. And if you do that and you move to a new website platform, I would recommend that you make a list of your current web pages, because you want to make sure you redirect them. Say if your pages are performing, or any page in particular is performing, you want to preserve that traffic, right? So make sure you map it out and then make sure you put the proper redirects in place. I know we're reaching the top of the hour, so I really do appreciate and thank everyone for attending the session. And as a bonus for attending this live session, I am offering all attendees a mini site audit and strategy session where I will provide custom recommendations on how you can future proof your brand for AI. So to take advantage of this offer, just scan the QR code you see on the left, book a call with me, and the first 3 people who book a call will also receive an AI visibility report. So I think it's really important to know where you are right now and where your site stands. And so in order for you to then decide on the next steps and what to do. And I would love to help you with that. So I hope you all found this webinar to be helpful. I know there's a lot of information, but I try to, bring you the most important and relevant information for you. It's in a simple, easy way that you can hopefully take and start to implement some of these steps in your business.